University's first media advisor to Vice Chancellor and heads university's peer and media center. Her interests include films, social media, and her paper on films and religion has been kept as reading in syllabi of prominent institutions, including Queen Mary University of London and Virginia Commonwealth University. She has collaborated with Columbia Law School Clinic for a project on education. She has been a Copenhagen Fellow of Florida International University in 2021, Bridge Institute UK Kalinga Fellow in 2021, and 2019 Commonwealth Professional Fellow in United Kingdom, and Indo Global Social Services Sector Media Fellow in 2012-2013. She has also been a mentor with Commonwealth Scholarship Commission in the United Kingdom and with the Emerging Scholars Network Program of International Association for Media and Communication Research. She is the review editor of Frontiers in Digital Health. She has been the section editor for fiction in a contemporary literary review journal. Monisha Kadri is a youth trainer on life skills and leadership. She has delivered lectures at various international forums and conferences and has been a guest faculty at institutes like NIFT India and has delivered lectures at Academic Pangasinan Bahasa University, Technology Malaysia, at the Indian Institute of Mass Communication in Delhi, Central University of Jharkhand, DME Noida, and Adamas University, etc. And is also a member of various editorial boards of journals like ABRN Asia and in boards of studies of universities like Sage University. Over to you, Dr. Kadri. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Am I audible?
Yeah, good evening.
Yes. Thank you so much, Dr. Bhattacharjee, for your kind words and also for introducing today's session on the Global Communication Education Conclave, which is themed as channeling power of PR and communication, and considering the relevance of PR and the linkages that it has been able to create during the COVID and also the post-COVID scenario as we go along it. It has been able to establish linkages which are essential interdisciplinarily. And we have been able to explore so much with the dimension of technological interventions, and particularly having some of the most learned practitioners and trainers and educators from this field really makes this session of today really special. I also welcome all my speakers on behalf of the Global Media Education Conclave, which is running this particular conclave as the longest media event in the whole of the world. And we are really proud to have started in October, and now it's going really well. And almost every prominent and renowned educator and practitioner has been associated with the platform and has blessed us with their presence. And I'm really delighted to have people like Professor Charulata Singh, Ms. Sumita Singh, Professor Abida Ashraf, Mr. Suresh Gorji, Dr. Piyush Datta, and our paper presenters and all the participants who have joined us in today's conclave. Now, let me extend my invitation to Dr. Piyush Datta, who is the Associate Professor and Program Director at APJ Institute of Mass Communication, New Delhi. I request him to preside over this session, and Professor Datta was an obvious choice, considering his diverse experience, which goes over 30 years of industry and academic experience in experiential marketing, advertising, PR, event activation, and mass communication. And he has worked as a creative director with reputed advertising agencies, not just in India, but also elsewhere, including Dentsu from Tokyo and Saatchi from Kuwait. He teaches using his innovative method, Global Ropes concept, which is a unique and innovatively curated methodology. And because of his experience and his pedagogy, he has been able to win Global Teachers Award 2018 by AKS Worldwide among 24 countries. And he has also received Best Research Excellence Award 2020 for his PhD thesis. Dr. Datta is a certified member of Advisory Editorial Board IJSRST and has been member of various films and photography jury committees. Over to you, Professor.
Thank you, Dr. Monisha Kadri, and thank you, Dr. Sumain Bhattacharya, and Professor, welcoming to Dr. Charulata Singh and Ms. Sumita Singh and Abhida Asraf, and another honorable guest, Suresh Gaur, and all the dignitaries and the scholars. This is like my privilege to get a chance in terms of talking about like the today's session. So I'll just take two to 4 minutes about the subject. Like we are talking about the channeling the power of PR and corporate communication. So this concept of like channeling, which is like interlinking, and which is also, we can say, intermediating between the power of corporate communication and PR, which is very relevant in this period after COVID also, and specifically digital era. So digital era where we will say, instead of the digital era, we'll say programmatic PR or programmatic corporate communication. Everything is programmatic. Like wherever we are going, corporate communication and PR is intermediate. And we are saying the future generation, there are 3 things to come for you guys, which is like power, like passion, persuasive, and power of communication, which is important for your field. And also like in terms of like rope, which is also in the PR form, also in the global platform, you should communicate with research, observation, planning, and also execution, which is very important in terms of corporate communication and PR also, which is like nowadays the students and the new field, lot of digital era, lot of in terms of lot of communication strategy, insight, and lot of kind of things coming digital. Like I'm just saying a small thing of, instead of OOH, now it is communicating as a do, digital out of home. Like instead of like corporate communication, it starts like a digital corporate communication. Yesterday, I'm talking to one of the research person from the like HUL. He was saying now it is a digital PR, digital corporate communication. Everything is digital, and it's like we rather than in terms of journalism, we say backpack communication. What we are saying, backpack power of PR, power of corporate communication, means everything is in your mobile. So with that, I would like to start with the today's session. So thank you all the dignitaries. So we can start. Manisha Kadri.
Thank you so much, sir. I think that really sets the trend for today's event. And having said that, I guess, all the speakers would be discussing themes which are so relevant and so meaningful. And you've rightly set the canvas for the session of today. Now, I would request our keynote speaker for today, Professor Abhida Asraf. She is an accomplished media educator, a professional, and a PR expert, so to say. And she's the chairperson of the Department of Public Relations and Advertising at University of Punjab from Pakistan. She is also the vice president and founding member of the Association of Media and Communication Academic Professionals, AMCAP, the one and only association of media practitioners and academics there. She's also the vice chair, Islam and Media Working Group at IAMCR, which is a big deal for all of us as students and practitioners and educators. Dr. Abhida is the editor of the Journal of Media and Communication Studies, AMCAP JMCS. She's also the associate editor of Journal of Media Studies, which is published by University of Punjab. Dr. Ashraf is she's been kind enough to accept this request, and she would be speaking about public relations in the age of postmodernism, challenges and prospects. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you very much, Dr. Manisha Kadri. Good evening, everybody. I'm honored to be with distinguished panelists. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to be with you. As you mentioned, that the title of my talk is Public Relations in the Age of Postmodern Era and Challenges and Prospects. I would like to focus on the topic from 3-4 points and perspectives, starting from the very basic idea and the basic concept, that is what is public relations, and then what is postmodernism and public relations in the age of postmodernism. What does it mean and how it goes with the idea of postmodernism? And what are the challenges faced in the age of postmodernism, and what are the future prospects? So starting from the very idea of what is public relations, I would like to start from the very popular statement that is called the Mexican statement, agreed on by the World Assembly of Public Relations Association. The definition says that public relations is the art and social science of analyzing trends, predicting their consequences, counseling organization leaders, and implementing planned program of action, which will serve both the organization and the public interest. So if we have a comprehensive view of various public relations definitions, the overview will suggest and will come up with some key terms, including organization, management, and publics. Postmodern era has transformed these concepts. As organization structures are changing in terms of technology, size, and scope, new management styles are also emerging, and publics are now fragmented and being replaced by individualism. With the change in basic concepts of public relations, its implications and practices have also changed. The changes are due to postmodernism. Postmodernism era is characterized by no objective reality, no scientific or historical truth, and it rejects concepts of rationality, objectivity, and universal truth. Postmodernism proposes diversity of human experiences, multiplicity of perspectives, and maintains that in contemporary global society, people's identities are chosen and ascribed. We are experiencing this phenomena as we are living in the postmodern society. Our postmodern society is characterized by globalization, hyperreality, fragmented world, consumer society, cultural diversity, and hybridity. And all these factors influence contemporary practices of public relations. In a globalized world, no public relation event is limited to a particular geographical space, or you can say particular geographical locality. So many a times what happens that events influence not only within the geographical location, but go beyond borders within a very short time. Media do not usually report real and truthful events, but blends false and pseudo events, which are not spontaneous, rather planted, planned, and incited. So public relations practices provide constant staple in the form of these pseudo events in the postmodern era. I would like to quote Daniel Bell here. Daniel Bell, he says that in the modern postmodern society, information and knowledge have replaced material forms of production. Public relations activities on the internet provide information and access to cultural resources. As mentioned by Professor Datta as well, that now this is the age of digital public relations. So digital media multiplies the number of affinity groups, people with like-minded interests and common professions across national boundaries. So new media structures have revolutionized some in terms of public relations and in terms of like forecasting trends as well. Postmodern concept accepts that truth is constructed and is considered as a tool that constructs reality. In this scenario, public relations emerges as an approach to construct and promote new identities of the publics. And it does not only construct identities of the publics, rather identities of the organizations. And for example, some certain associations are developed like associations and like cool, classy, rich, stylish, reliable, etc. So these identities are considered being transferred to the people as consumers or publics. So what happens that pseudo events or media events are created with the sole aim of getting media coverage, or rather events are staged in a way that lend themselves to media coverage. So having said that, in postmodern era, objective facts are becoming less influential than emotions and personal beliefs. So public relation practitioners are image merchants. And what do? They manipulate, also manipulate images that consist of signs, images that consist of symbols and constitute culture. So I would like to explain it with an example. Back in 2013, Coca-Cola launched an anti-obesity advertisement, recognizing that sweetened soda and many other foods and drinks have contributed to the obesity epidemic. The company advertised its wide area of calorie-free beverages and encouraged individuals to take responsibility for their own drink choices and weight. So responses to the advertisement were mixed, with many experts calling it misleading and inaccurate in stating the health dangers of soda. So marketing of these drinks is typically aimed directly at children and adolescents. It is also observed that studies funded by the beverage industry are 4 to 8 times more likely to show a finding favorable to industry than independently funded studies. So such findings are promoted through public relations. So confusions increase and audience become more skeptical. In postmodern era, institutions' credibility is also declining, and objective facts are less influential, informing and shaping public opinion. Objectives of public relations, though, in the postmodern era are not different from their predecessors, specifically to promote and enhance image. However, the environment is different. Multiplicity of channels and cyber world spaces have created noise, a kind of noise and clutter. And the challenge is to create a singular, unified message, which is transactional and appealing to the emotions of large fragmented audience. Therefore, business strategy is no longer a mere imitation or simulation or representation of a product, service, or organization. So the contemporary brand strategy is postmodern in nature. And I would like to quote here Jean Baudrillard. He says that it is no longer a question of imitation, nor of reduplication, nor even of parody. It is rather a question of substituting signs of the real for the real itself. A simple tweet now can mobilize the masses and bring about results which would have been inconceivable a few years ago. Emotional appeals that activate personal beliefs are more efficient at winning over public opinion than objective facts. Stating the facts today is not enough. It is now essential to involve the recipients in these facts so that they display their endorsement of endorsement can be with the help of simple click, or they can spread their own liking or disliking through social media. So this will find its way back to the market. I would like to quote the example from Magnum. Magnum launched 2 new ice creams, Magnum Pink Raspberry and Magnum Black Espresso, and made pink or black campaign back in 2013. In their campaign, Magnum emphasized 2 different moods with these 2 different tastes. The slogan was, different ice creams for different moments. And what mood are you in today? Fruity playfulness and rich sophistication. Magnum says each woman has 2 different moods, and we have different products suitable for their moods. In the worldwide campaign, firstly, Magnum created a poll on Twitter. And the question was, what mood women are in, to raise awareness for new products. After the campaign culminated in asking people to vote to light up a range of iconic landmarks, either pink or black. And what was the aim? The objective was to activate the Magnum Pink and Black campaign in digital and social channels and support the PR campaign by driving excitement and sales around the release of 2 ice cream flavors. So this campaign was made in big cities like Paris, London, Brussels, Amsterdam, and Lisbon, Hamburg, Vienna, Rome, and even in Istanbul. Magnum Turkey started a poll on Twitter, and it was in 2013. Istanbul witnessed the city turning into pink. And what happened? The event was featured on news. And it was also telecasted on television for 5 hours, 43 minutes as news, and published in 70 different newspapers. And 139 different news were made. And that's how more than 100,000 people watched this event live on Twitter. After this event, there was a 970% increase in the conversation about the brand on social media. So this event reached more than 25 million people, and $1.2 million publication value was obtained. The campaign created a type of woman who is sexy, sophisticated, clever, hardworking, but always well-groomed. So this is not a real woman. They produced a hyper-real woman for Magnum, who is very desirable. After this campaign, Magnum is not selling just an ice cream. It sells prestige, it sells status and values like sophistication, energy, beauty, and pleasure. So products gain meanings outside of their usage and become simulations. So the symbols of emotions, needs, moods, warmth, interest, success, or advantage are attributed to products. So Magnum, that event created simulations in many ways. According to Baudrillard, simulation is not an imitation or a parody. It is a new form of reality in which symbols put display instead of the original. Baudrillard gives the example of the Gulf War as well. He says that the Gulf War did not take place. To him, the war was won by the American Air Force even before it had begun. The images of the war show American pilots pinpointing Iraqi targets from thousands of miles in the air, then bombed them. They took photos and fly back to rearm and return. A technological war created by television and media based on a falsehood. And then there was senseless bombardment, unnecessary loss of life and property, brainwashing, and then self-congratulation over a non-event. So this is happening in post-modern era. Keeping in view this scenario, idea of media as a real virtuality that is advocated by Manuel Castells, implies that media texts are not substitutes for real experiences.
I think we have a network issue.
Am I audible? Actually, there was a network issue that stopped. So I would like to conclude here. While concluding, I would like to focus more upon let me put on video. Yes. So I would like to focus more upon challenges and prospects related to public relations in this postmodern world. So talking about challenges, I would like to quote Mickey. Mickey is the author of Sociodrama, an interpretive theory for the practice of public relations. So what does he say? He says that since media technology today gives us the facts simply as they are presented and have little or no reference to truth, therefore, there can be apprehensions to hold public relations under greater accountability and tighter security. So, and it serves as a challenge. So another challenge is postmodern approach in public relations does not believe in the conventional approach of consensus and symmetry. Rather, it proposes dissensus and dissymmetry, which appears as a challenge. So another challenge can be stated as that whatever is happening today, masses of people receiving the same messages, smaller demystified groups receive and send large amounts of their own imagery to one another. Hence, consensus has now been shattered, which appears as a big challenge to public relations as well. And public relation organizations are now more complex, and public relation officers' roles are emerging as activists, doing more transactional communication with more multitasking skills. Talking about the prospects, so public relations can contribute to grassroots democracy through activism and radical politics. So this prospect is suggested by Daniel Holson. It was suggested in a research article. So to conclude, we can say that a postmodern analysis of public relations offers a new critical approach to public relations theory and practice, and suggests that public relations should be freed from its narrow definition as organizational communication management. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for bringing in some critical points from the industry perspective and also its relationship with other contexts, whether it's politics or it's industries and economy. Now we have someone who we are really proud to have with us today. Our eminent media educator for today is Professor Charulata Singh, ma'am. She is the Dean and Professor of Journalism and Mass Communication in Vivekananda School of Journalism and Mass Communication, Vivekananda Institute of Professional Studies, New Delhi. A highly experienced media educator for over 22 years and has 10 edited, authored, co-authored books, 14 chapters in around 30 publications in national and international journals of repute. She has been a reviewer with prestigious journals like Media Asia, Communication Today, Oxford Research Encyclopedia of Politics, Asian Research Journal of Arts and Social Sciences. I'm proud to share that ma'am has been awarded copyright for the concept ISR, Individual Social Responsibility, and for coining the word digiteracy from the Government of India, having expertise of parallel qualifications in political science as well as journalism and mass communication. She has received a number of honors and awards. She has been twice awarded Iconic Women Creating Better World for All. And isn't she an inspiration for all of us? By the World Women Economic Forum, WEF. She was awarded by PRSI for Best Research Paper Award as well. Having widely traveled across the world for professional and other commitments and has presented papers and been chairperson in different sessions and international seminars and conferences. She's also a resource person to persons in various universities and organizations. And recently her book on corporate communication has been published by Routledge, which is a must read for students of corporate communication because that details case studies from India. And today we are honored to felicitate her. I would request the back-end team to play the video and also request Dr. Datta to say a few words in her honor.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Manisha Kadri. And I really thankful to you to talk about Dr. Charulata Singh. She's one of the pillars of the corporate communication and PR in Indian industry. And she's one of the media educators. It's really awesome to listen to every voice of hers. Being a media educator, she's very, very, in terms of whenever she comes to our campus for a board of studies or for any resource thing, she always welcomes the students, and everyone in the media educator industry, they like her like anything, even the students also, without saying, not only a lot of things you said it, but few things I would like to say also. She also had recently done on the role of military in politics, a case study of Bangladesh, and a lot of other felicitations, books, and the resource mentors, and the research paper unending. We can't finish in just 2 minutes or 5 minutes. It is thank you, ma'am. You are one of the pioneer in our media education industry. Thank you.
Thank you, Manisha, and thank you, Piyushji. I'm really overwhelmed by this honor, and I never thought, the online honors can be so exciting. So it was a wonderful experience for me. So all my thanks to you, both of you, and to Global Media Education Council and Global Media Education Conclave for honoring me and for giving me this platform. It is really great, and I'm so happy to be here with you all. And you have read so many accomplishments of mine, so it is I feel it is too much anyways. So a little bit what I will just talk about public relations and corporate communications. I'm basically trying to touch only one aspect of corporate communication. Basically, I'm going to talk about social interactions and brand building. So when, to start with, when we talk about brand building today, we need to understand the changing business environments around us in which we are living for the corporates when we think about it. So a lot has changed because of the technology, because of social media, because of the volatility of the markets. As we talk about the structures of various corporates, also though there are big corporations and the giants, but we are also having now the unicorns and the startups. So the the functions, or the PR and corporate functions, how they are going to build up there. So and also the environment, when we are talking about, it is the transformative, it is the disruptive environment which is constantly changing. So in such constantly changing environments, the creativity and innovation has to be there in every aspect of communication, whether it is internal or external. It is understood that in such an ecosystem, of course, the PR and the marketing, the strategies have to be sound, and they have to be, always looked upon, constantly to be changed. The communication strategies, I feel, internally are very, very important. So when we talk about, when we are talking about the social interactions, so social interactions, you may relate it to the exchange of information, competition, conflict, coercion, etc. But social interaction in terms of, it is very complex when we talk about within the organization or outside the organization. So it is what I am focusing on, the social interaction which emanates or originates from within the organization to the rest. So it is inside, outside, from inside to outside, and internal to external. So if we talk about the, the change in the public relations and corporate which has taken place, so we all know that it is the business world has changed from media oriented field of public relations more to the corporate communication, and they focus more on the multiple constituencies. So in this diversity, there are different or lot of stress needs to be put on the various multiple platforms which Abida Ashrafji also has put light on various aspects of the public relations and the changing environments and the challenges there too. So the internal brand building, when we are talking about, it needs to be created, curated right downwards from the brand belief, which emanates right from the thought leadership to say, or flows from the vision and mission, to which leads to the building of the corporate values, and then reflect on the brand promises. And of course, these brand promises are driven through the staff, through the employee, through the various segments. And so the social interactions basically has to be in total alignment with the corporations and employees about the brand. So a corporate brand, we know, as we understand the corporate identity and building of the promises by the stakeholders. So all kind of communication which is going into it is giving rise to the brand image. Whatever may be the text or voice or whatever is said and communicated through different tools, techniques, etc. So brand building is very much dependent on the employee's actions or employee's communication. And this employee's communication in turn is his or her perception about the brand belief or the values percolated down to him, which needs to be understood fully and totally. I'm putting emphasis on all this because, the employee interfaces or employee behaviors, today there are multiple touch points where they are involved, and their touch points ultimately are influencing and leading to the building of the perceptions. So it is very important to deal with those areas. And when we talk about this, each and every individual in the organization needs to understand about the actual, the desired, and the external. Actual means what the corporate views, corporate has the view on it, and desired is what they want others to be perceived. And then we talk about the external, that how others perceive it. And the challenge here when we talk about these three things is to reduce the gap between these, and then the strategic planning and communication which will reduce the gap will lead to the effective communication in the various segments. So social interactions are basically, we are talking about the integration of internal, external, social, environmental, cultural, strategic, operational decisions in the favor of the brand support. So it is a very complex and very complicated area which needs to be understood. And I am putting focus again on this because the as Abida ji also said, that we have moved from individualization. We are talking, we do talk a lot about the external communication, how the brand building has to be done, etc. But what internally? Internally, we do talk about the, we talk about the employee commitment, we talk about employee engagement, but how much do we focus on the, on the psychological aspects, or when we say emotional appeals, apply outside for the public relations. So how much, these emotional appeals work within the organization. So, so these are very important areas which I think are not being focused much. So it is the emotional attachment, the psychological attachment of each of the individuals, which is important within the organization. It is all about internalizing of the values or beliefs which the organization believes in, and then create the brand value, and then create value for the company. So that is what is important. And so it is, I think, gone are the days when the things were thought at the top, and there is an interface where one person can speak, of course, in various situations, whether crisis or anything. Today, because of the social media, because of the tools in the hands of each and every employee or stakeholder, to say, so they it is very important for that how this each and every employee speaks what the organization wants them to speak. For that, they need to be touched individually today. It is not that you can hold workshops, you can send the emails or collective emails. It is one-to-one. It is individualized connect, which needs to be created in today's world. So, it is very, very important again. And therefore, I believe the social interactions are much more richer than the simple phenomena of communication, which we talk about. And so the managers today need to, monitor, work, or have the strategic plans for each and every individual separately, approach them separately, cater to their emotions and behaviors, and keep a tab, keep a look on each and every aspect of that, which is very, very important, because we are living in a very, very, we are living in risk environment, as I said. So this risk environment has to be tackled in a very, very different manner, only probably with the emotions and psychology and self-regulation, self-responsibility that is has to be built in for the organization, for the brand. So that strength needs to come from there. Yeah, so these are so if we want to relate it to the theoretical aspects, probably we can relate it to the social interaction theory, which believes that social order is highly socially constructed, or you can relate it to the social constructionist theory as well. So, and to build this, I would say that to establish an atmosphere of trust, respect, or self-awareness, inclusion, open communication, self-regulation, self-responsibility, etc. All these things are very important, which will bind together the each and every individual, because of the changing environment, fast changing environments, increasing attrition rates. One has to be at it all the time when we talk about corporate communications internally. So this is how the internal brand building has to be looked upon. And it is important to induce brand commitment. As I said, brand appropriate behaviors will lead to positive differentiation for the organization. So with these words, I would like to stop. And as Dr. Manisha told, that I have my book on corporate communication, Introduction to Corporate Communication, which has recently been published by Taylor and Francis Routledge. So if for much more details, those who are interested can look into that. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am. I think whatever you spoke are of strategic importance in terms of brand building and creating that added value for any brand. They say PR is 90% good behavior, good work, and 10% communication. So you've rightly put that in perspective. Um, Now we have a special corporate speaker with us, Mr. Suresh Gaur, who has been awarded who's Doctor of Letters in PR, conferred as honoris causa to recognize his excellent contribution in the field. He's a PR guru, storyteller, author, blogger, and an influencer. He's recently written a book on public relations and event management, understanding professional applications, which is going to be really useful for students of this discipline. He is also the CEO of PR for You and Public Relations at Online, and has been actively engaged in PR education. Today, he will be delivering a special corporate talk discussing COVID-19 and PR, today's situation, challenges, and also look at the opportunities. And I think he's the right person to talk about this topic.
Thank you. And hello, and a very beautiful evening to all the fellow distinguished panelists and attendees. And thank you very much for your kind words of introduction, Dr. Monisat Kadiri. Dear friends, sharing some important facts and figures of global and Indian PR industry with you that will set the tone of my today's topic, COVID-19 and PR, today's situation, challenges, and opportunities. Friends, as per a study report, the global public relations market is expected to grow from $88.13 billion in 2020 to $97.13 billion in 2021 at a CAGR of 1.2%. The market is expected to reach $129.35 billion in 2025 at a CAGR of 7.4%. The countries covered in the global PR market are Brazil, China, France, Germany, India, Indonesia, Japan, South Korea, Russia, UK, USA, and Australia. Friends, PR industry in India grew 12% to reach rupees 1,600 crores in March 2019. The industry continued to grow at a CAGR, that is compound annual growth rate of 12.5% to reach rupees 1,800 crores by March 2020. The industry is expected to grow at 15% to reach rupees 2,270 crores by March 2021. Actual figures not available as of now. And during COVID-19, almost 64% clients have reduced their PR budgets. Almost 77% of the clients reduced their PR retainers. 90% clients postponed their campaigns and 83% clients canceled their activations. Almost 4 in 10 clients imposed extended payment terms during COVID-19. 1 in 5 PR agencies lay off staff and instigated furloughs. Revenue has been adversely impacted by at least 20 to 30% as the core sectors of travel, tourism, hospitality, consumer, and retail have been the hardest hit. Consequently, at many PR firms, employees experienced anywhere from 30 to 50% pay cuts, and at the senior level, even higher to offset falling revenues. There are more than 1,100 plus PR consultancies in India. As per a study done by PRCAI, Public Relations Consultants Association of India, every year, estimated 1,000 to 1,200 individuals join the estimated 30,000 professional strong Indian PR sector. And according to a survey, the PR industry in India is growing at an annual rate of 32%. Friends, as you know that PR is all about telling compelling narrative to the target audiences through best possible and most effective mediums or channels of communication. PR is also a strategic communication process between an organization, individual, and the target and our general audience. And we, the PR professionals, work 24/7, 365 days to establish and maintain best possible relationship with an organization's target audience, all verticals of the media, opinion leaders, and influencers. We all know that PR and media industry go hand in hand. PR, which was once upon a time controlled or defined only by print, that is newspaper, magazine, and or electronic media, that is television and radio. But now with the arrival of digital media or online media and or social media, that is worldwide web or internet, or now Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, Pinterest, Flickr, etc., and that too with hugely improved technology has changed the functions, process, and reach of any PR activity. Friends, you would agree with me, previously only two media, print and electronic media, defined and governed brand awareness and promotion. Today, anyone, even an individual blogger or communicator like me, or to be more specific, an influencer who has good number of followers on the social media platforms, can give life-changing impact to any brand. The social media networks, that is Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Pinterest, have around 4.62 billion users worldwide. The only way to be noticed on these social media networks is to prioritize the content creation and digital marketing. The content must include blogs, articles, graphics, infographics, audio, and video files. As per the report released by PRCAI, Indian PR industry grew 18% in 2016-17 to rupees 1,315 crore, with boutique firms performing remarkably well and is further expected to reach 2,270 crore by the end of fiscal year ended 2021. While most of the growth will come from public relations, the report said digital, social media, and content-driven campaigns will contribute as much as 25% to the revenue of PR firms. ICT, FMCG, retail, automobile, and real estate sectors would be the main contributors to this growth. Startups, sports, and entertainment are seen as the emerging business segment, while the industry is largely driven by the services and manufacturing segment. Further, maximum growth is expected in the areas of corporate reputation, strategic consulting, and social media and community management in the next 5 years, that is 2021 to 2025. And the sectors that foresee maximum growth in the similar period are technology, information technology, financial services, professional services, that is e-commerce, and healthcare. With the global market observing a slowdown, most of the industries are trying to survive. The PR industry is no exception. As the economic fallout from the COVID-19 pandemic comes into focus, the PR industry will not escape untouched. As per the survey of International Communication Consultants Organization, ICCO, 77% of PR agency heads expect a loss of earnings. Accordingly, bigger firms supported by stronger cash balances and diversified practices are best positioned to ride out the storm caused by COVID-19, or perhaps mid-sized agencies having outperformed the industry over the past decade will emerge less shaken from this crisis. Most affected sectors are education, travel and tourism, and hospitality sectors. As per Ayaz Nanji of ICW Media, most public relations professionals feel confident about the value they have been providing during COVID-19, but are also grappling with more burnout and stress because of the pandemic. And according to recent research from BuzzStream, the report was based on data from a survey of 400 full-time public relations professionals. Nearly 3/4, that is 73% of respondents, say they feel confident about the value of PR amid COVID-19, and 59% say they feel confident about their effectiveness at work during the pandemic. Some 57% of the respondents say they have clients that have changed their PR strategies because of COVID-19, and 49% say they have clients that have reduced their PR budgets because of the pandemic. Only 60% of PR professionals feel confident about their job security, with 57% saying their company or group has already experienced furloughs or layoffs. Some 65% of respondents say they are feeling more stressed, and 51% say they are feeling more burned out. Some 35% of PR professionals say pitch outreach effectiveness has increased because of the pandemic. 25% say it has decreased, and 40% say it has stayed about the same. Since most of the people are in panic mode, and because of that, even the sale of newspapers has declined drastically. Due to the slowdown caused by corona pandemic, people are reluctant to buy newspapers even when the WHO guidelines clearly mention that there is no chance of contracting the virus from printed newspapers. Most sections of the media, barring a few, are focusing only on the pandemic-related stories, which have impacted PR-related coverage. Sorry. The ongoing situation has also impacted new product launches and other promotional or media events where PR teams play an important role. Most of the businesses are adopting the wait and watch approach, which seems to be the most logical at this juncture. The same is true even for a service-led industry like public relations. Post-COVID-19, many organizations have understood the need of cost-effective communication plans for their growth. With growing adoption of social media, even many PR agencies have started investing in creative and digital arms for fast and effective communication. Friends, no one can neglect the importance of PR in post-COVID-19 days because of its huge impact. You would agree with me that PR plays a crucial role in analyzing and influencing public opinion. The scope of public relations is extensive for big organizations, corporate to medium or small businesses, or just a startup. And even an individual looks for PR support. Public relations have grown to become a vital component of brand communication, and effective and sustained communication strategies have emerged as critical components of perception and image management of brands today. COVID-19 has furthered an already ongoing change towards greater explosion of digital and social media with shrinking traditional media space. This has created new challenges and requirements for the PR industry. The rising value and reach of digital media has shifted priorities and created the need for dedicated digital media strategies. As the pandemic changes the world, so is the practice of public relations. The COVID-19 pandemic requires PR professionals to bring experience, intuition, and gut feel into play. In these uncertain times, any miscommunication done by a brand can result in unpleasant consequences. Therefore, all brands are now in crisis mode and planning their way forward accordingly. At this time, special focus needs to be placed on the information given out on public platforms. This is where the role of PR commences. Friends, brands need to communicate in every situation, good or bad. So PR should play its role by focusing more on crisis communications, investor relations, customer relations, employees relations, community relations, industry relations, B2B, and government relations to keep the brand's perception and reputation intact. The past few months have seen a drastic change in the way businesses are being operated across all the sectors, with work from home becoming the new style of working and seminars being replaced by webinars, initiation of FB Live series, which I have also done in the past and shall be restarting soon. People have resorted to multiple ways of beating all odds and keep the momentum going uninterrupted. And COVID-19 is a global crisis that has impacted every person personally and economically. Of course, businesses in different markets of different sizes and different strengths will all be impacted in different ways. It is the ultimate test of leadership and character of what we stand for. Your business acumen and soft skills, we need leaders to lead with empathy and optimism. Every action we take during a post-COVID-19 and all the behavior around our diseases will define the future of each and every organization, and even the PR, big or small, and its work culture. Let's give our best today and always. Thank you. Namaskar.
Thank you so much. I think you wonderfully spoke about the industry experiences and how the trends are like and where the PR industry and corporate communications is going from now on. And that is quite a signal to the students of this discipline who can look at possibilities of career opportunities there. Now, I would like to invite our chief guest for today, Ms. Sumita Singh. She is the Deputy General Manager, Corporate Communications, Indian Oil, New Delhi, a highly skilled and accomplished industry leader in the sector. she has diverse leadership experience within this industry and is also the Secretary General with Public Relations Society of India. And ma'am has been delivering lectures at various prominent institutes covering corporate communications and allied sector. And her experience is definitely going to be so important for all of us today. She would be speaking on powering employee engagement through corporate communication, which is a significant area when we talk about corporate communications, because employees are regarded as first in the line of communication for any corporate. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Munisa. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you. And I see there's a galaxy of our PR stalwarts here. And it's really a pleasure. And I thank CMEC and GCEC for this opportunity of being on this platform. And I am thankful to Dr. Charulata and Mr. Suresh Gaur, who have already built a foundation of what I'm going to talk about. They have talked of the internal brand building, and Sureshji talked extensively on how COVID-19 has been, has brought in a paradigm shift in the way we communicate. And before I begin, I would just like to say that, this platform is doing a great job. And I think in these times, it is really needed because we have seen that PR and Corpcom is growing by leaps and bounds. And so it's an apt time that these collaborations between the industry, the academia, the researchers, and the new generation which is coming into the industry gets a feel of how it is going to pan out. So for this, first of all, congratulations. And now, without much ado, I think the aspects, a lot of aspects have already been talked about. So I would focus more on the Indian Oil experience. And I find that whatever inputs and insights have been shared, we have lived through those, as communicators in one of the largest energy companies of India. Just to give a very brief intro so that people get a reference from outside the country who are joining in. Indian Oil is a Fortune 500 energy major, and it is the highest ranked energy PSU from India, which is there in that list. When I talk of internal branding and when I talk of employee engagement, I'll first quickly talk of the challenge, and just to give the scale at which we do communicate. We have some more than 31,000 employees. And besides that, because, we have a huge supply chain, whether you talk of LPG, we have our distributorships, we have our fuel station partners, we have our contract workers. It's a huge ecosystem, and they run into several lakhs. And if as communication experts, the mandate has increasingly been, to include the larger subset of stakeholders too into, the family, the Indian Oil family, as we call them. And that is the first challenge as communicators. And when we talk of employee engagement, the demography of our employees, they hail from every region. Right, if I say Kashmir to Kanyakumari, I think it's not an overstatement at all. We are there in, the remotest of places. And so language issues are there. We have a lot of millennials now coming into the organization. We even have Gen Z, coming in. And I don't think any management session nowadays is complete without a session on how to communicate and how to deal with millennials. So that is besides the point. And I think when we draft or when we chart our communication strategies, it is, I think, very aptly been said that, to win in the marketplace, we must first win in the workplace. And internal communication at this point in time, when our companies, the generic horizon of companies, of corporates, of business is going through massive transformations. And talking about my company, I think all of us are aware that energy is one sector where the spotlight is firmly trained as to how we are going through the energy transitions towards greener transitions. And being a company which is more than 60 years old, our company too is going through these transitions. And this really brings in, how well engaged our employees are, especially in times of transformations. I think the importance cannot be overstated. I'm reminded of a quote by Simon Sinek here. When people are financially invested, they want a return. But when people are emotionally invested, they want to contribute. So going by this philosophy, and given all the challenges we have, what we do exercise in Indian Oil is we have to employ multiple platforms to communicate, because we have blue collar workers also who are not very digitally savvy. So we have to maintain a balance between the traditional modes of communication. And as Mr. Gaur rightly said, COVID-19 suddenly brought digital medium in the center spot also. So that, I think, has been leveraged to the fullest. And if I can just talk quickly about COVID-19, I do feel that the COVID-19 was a turning point. And I mean, talking especially of PSU communication teams, I do feel that COVID-19 saw our communication teams come of age. It was a disruption, but I guess with the resilience with which all communication teams, I think we have seen it across sectors, how the CC teams, how the PR teams, they responded with agility. I mean, within limited resources. I think the recognition which was long overdue, I see that, that recognition came after COVID-19. We learned, I mean, while on the job, especially during COVID-19, we had to redraft our strategies, given the fact that we are a manufacturing industry. We have people who work in shifts. It's a 24/7 kind of a job. We have people working on the front lines, and engaging with them during periods of lockdown initially was really difficult, because unlike ITAs industries, we are always in our workplaces. So when suddenly there were lockdowns, we had to very quickly, I think, redesign our communication strategies. Again, there was a roadblock, when Zoom meetings started. But as they say, again, there was an overload of Zoom. And how do you engage people who have constantly to stare at, Zoom screens? And ultimately, there comes a stage where the video and the audio are on mute. And then you have a completely disengaged employee teams. And then, I mean, I think that was a huge roadblock. Having said that, our experience has been that, the power of ideas, creativity, and innovation. Like in every other sector, I think communicators too have risen to the occasion. And with a little tweaking, with a little creativity, I think we have been very successful. I would say that, first of all, to have a proper employee engagement, there are two very important factors, which we have to keep in mind. One is that they need to be recognized for the good job that they do. Second, and very importantly, they need to be let in on things that are going on in the company. I don't think we'll have a pool of very engaged employees if they come to know that some breakthrough which is happening in the company, they read it in the morning's newspaper. So, what we have stepped up on is, and I think that was a learning from the COVID times, the CEOs normally, and I'll be very frank, in PSUs, sometimes due to the kind of atmosphere we work in, it was not very apt traditionally, felt that sharing was not supposed to be a very, and it was a very top-down kind of communications which used to go. But I think now that's a thing of the past. I can just name a few initiatives that we took and which were very successful. Bang in the middle of the lockdowns, the emails had very limited bandwidth. So thankfully, that overload of communication in a way was firewalled. So we started a straight talk kind of a communication, very short video capsules from the CEO, talking to the employees, reassuring them, telling them about the measures which are being taken, A, for their safety, B, why they are still needed on the front lines, because the LPG gases had to be delivered, the fuel stations had to be run. And that was the phase when we needed our employees to really, really be engaged, to rise to the occasion. And I think each one of them did that, putting their own self at risk. They were there. And I do feel that, as communicators, it was a very successful feeling. We had COVID toolkits which were constantly being shared. We had a WhatsApp number especially dedicated to this, because WhatsApp became a very easy form of communication. We had our daily bulletins, which were also sent through WhatsApp. We had the CEO's communications, the digital communication, the social media really was stepped up during this time. And we used to showcase little stories, of hope to the employees. And this wasn't easy because, because of the reach, we have different divisions, like refineries division is a company itself, marketing. So there are around 53,000 touch points which we run. And it was really a difficult task. But what came out was that besides the CC teams, we could create some champions from amongst the employees. For example, in a Gujarat refinery, some youngsters, they just came together and they shot a small audio visual, as to what was being done. So, we extended our reach through these youngsters, these enthusiastic people. So in a way, they became engaged themselves. And it was very organically done. So that's why when I say that COVID proved to be a real turning point for us, I think I say it with a lot of conviction. And there were 2-3 more initiatives. See, we work very complacently. We have a top team of vendors. We have our agencies. But that was a time when we were really cut off from everyone. And we were all on our own. So, the resilience which we gained, the insights which we gained are now helping us chart our communication strategies, even in the post-COVID world. As I said, another thing which I will again say is a very important aspect and which is a little underplayed is CSR. So social stewardship, we have found in our experience, because ours is a huge company. In all our operating locations, we have very robust CSR teams who do a lot of good work. But somehow, culturally, CSR wasn't much talked about. But we found that talking about CSR, it instills a sense of pride, a sense of ownership in the employees at large. And, that pride translates into a huge engagement with the company. And so much so that, it led to ICR also, individual ISR, individual social responsibility. So during COVID, we had these teams of people in different locations coming together and, doing some welfare activity just on their own. I mean, so, and this was, this also created a very good link with the neighboring communities. A company can only do so much, but when organically the teams they become energized, they then I think we have achieved a very important goal of aligning the vision of the company, aligning the agenda of the company with that of the employees, which I think is a very important takeaway of social engagement. This is what we seek from employee engagement. So I think these were some of, and then we were doing a lot of events. So very interestingly, while on the one hand, COVID was a great disruption, the company in some way was, we came out with new products, with new services during these difficult times. Another very, talking of the social stewardship and just going back to the last point, which I said, and I would like to flag this. Indian Oil, I'm sure you must be aware that, during the second wave, there was a huge crisis of oxygen. And I think all of us are aware and do know, what those were horrific times. So Indian Oil, due to its huge logistics expertise and the supply and demand expertise, was roped in by the government of India to coordinate the liquid medical oxygen, from the centers where it was made to the centers in the north, especially where the demand for the oxygen was. And our teams constantly did it. We diverted oxygen from our refineries, from our petrochemical plants into medical oxygen. And plus we diverted our cryogenic containers for our LNG business for ferrying oxygen from abroad. And then after a while, we sent it abroad also when the neighboring countries needed it. So we crafted these as small stories on social media. And we also, activated the LinkedIn profiles of our CEOs, of our directors, who directly kind of, conversed or talked to the people, to the stakeholders about these developments. And I can say that, it brought in a lot of positivity amongst the employees. As I said, seeing your company doing good for, the people at large, for the nation, there's no, booster better than that for the employees. So, so the takeaways were that, CSR, highlighting CSR and a social stewardship, highlighting the good work being done by our teams, engaging them with, this was also a time when we relaunched our digital knowledge sharing initiative. It's called Swadhyay. And unbelievably, it was launched maybe a year earlier, but it had not caught on. But now when people were at home, they really got engaged with this e-knowledge sharing initiative. And more than 1 million modules, they did sitting at home. So this was a great way to, engage as well as, keep people engaged while they are learning about the company, about the functions, the cross functions, and they are upskilling themselves. So CC did drive a lot of these initiatives. CC did disseminate information through whatever tools were possible. There were a lot of trials and errors because, we hadn't done it before and we had typically smaller teams working for us. But yes, the learnings have been really, really rich. And what we have learned is, that talking to our employees, listening deeply to them, building a trust, being transparent, especially from the top management. We also build up a platform where the employees could directly write to the CEO And and I mean the range of inputs which came in was really eye-opening, not just for us but even to the top management. They range from personal problems to innovations, suggestions. So I think as CC, as Copcom, there's a lot what can be done. And besides HR, I do see corporate communications as at the forefront when it comes to employee engagement. There have been a lot of things, but I think we are running out of time. I'll just name one more initiative which we started during the pandemic, which was a podcast. And so, there are many platforms, but I would say, yes, we have to use them judiciously. We do not have to, do an overload of information to the employees. Curate the platform according to the target group. And I'm sure this will lead to a very healthy and robust engagement. So I think I would end at that. And thank you so much for this opportunity. And listening to all the experts here also has been really very enlightening. So thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. I think Indian Oil definitely surfaces as one of the most interesting and rich case studies for people like me who are definitely going to use this as a case study in the classroom.
Sure.
And when American social historian and educator Daniel Boorstin said, "Some are born great, some achieve greatness, and some hire public relations officers," probably he meant people like practitioners like you. And this was really, really nice to have a talk from you, and you being the chief guest of the occasion kind of put things in perspective from the industry side. Thank you so much. And now we're moving towards the conclusion of this conclave. And I would request Professor Datta to share his concluding address and kind of sum up the session. And while he does that, he'll also be playing a short case study film on the theme for the students of corporate communications.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Monisha Kadri. Just I want to share the thought. We'll just 1-2 minutes film, because we are from the different platform. We are from corporate communication, PR, and the student, and holistically, we are communication. So before starting the film, just like everything in the film is expressing what we are supposed to do during the time of COVID or after COVID also. Just simply share the load. Just
Women in India have 2 jobs, one at the office and the other at home.
He waits till I come back, then I have to give him tea. So you don't get time to actually sit down.
They have to do all the household chores alone. And the men?
Going back home, first thing I do is get my tea, evening with friends.
73% of married women feel men prefer relaxing over helping with household chores. As a leading detergent brand in the country, Ariel decided to address this inequality at home. And so we launched Share the Load. We started by raising an important question on national media.
Riya, wo meri green shirt dhoi kyun nahi?
Is laundry only a woman's job? This provoked national conversation and debate.
पुरुषांनी बाहेरची कामं करायची आणि बायकांनी घर सांभाळायचं हे कोणी ठरवलं?
I'm sharing the finances with my husband. Husband should also share my laundry stuffs also.
Gender neutrality had to start with a product, so we launched the His and Her pack. And then we went a step further. We turned to the most unexplored medium, the wash care label. We took this space and turned it into the most powerful medium for gender equality. Leading clothing brands, manufacturers, retailers, and designers came forward.
Do
doing the wash care labels, putting them on my clothes is just another form of saying that, hey, I think that laundry is something that men should take up very seriously as well.
In a landmark move, Ariel tied up with matrimonial websites where millions of marriages are arranged. Willingness to share the load was introduced in the matchmaking profiles. The results: millions of men pledged to share the load. Men got involved with laundry in fun new ways. Free PR worth over $9.5 million, 1.6 billion earned impressions. Consumer engagement increased 3 times, the highest ever. Sales went up 60%, but most importantly, it created a shift in the mindset of men across the country to share the load.
Just to say, it's like just share the load from corporate communication, PR, advertising. See, what we learned during the COVID is share the load, which is very important from holistically, so that together we can. From the corporate, and another thing I learned from the Ms. Sumita Singh is also very nicely portrayed out how India can go ahead with a lot of, like we got a lot of COVID saviors and COVID charged people are there like you guys, and really we can go ahead, together we can. That's from my perspective. Thanks a lot to all of you.
Thank you so much. I think the film beautifully sum up how our panel kind of was manifested into. We had some excellent speakers. We had a great balance between both men and women, and all beautifully represented their expertise and the areas that they belong to. So I think I was really delighted and honored to have everyone on the panel today. I express my gratitude to our brilliant panelists, Professor Abida Ashraf, Professor Charu Lata Singh, Mr. Suresh Gaur, Ms. Sumita Singh, and I'm also thankful to the session chair, Professor Piyush Datta. And I also thank Dr. Sunayan Bhattacharjee for being there on behalf of GMEC. And I think the session beautifully summed up different aspects of public relations and CorpCom, and it has significant takeaways and insights for students of PR and people like me who are into media education and PR education. And I would again thank everyone who has joined us today. It was a great learning experience, and I hope that participants and attendees would be there with other sessions as well. Thank you so much once again. God bless and have a great evening.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
एक अच्छी सेक्रेटरी तो होगी चल नंबर निकाल जल्दी से